Hello everyone, and welcome back to Monsters of the Past. As always, I'm your host, Mr. G. And today, I'm here in the Paleocene to talk about a bird. It's Gastornis. We're talking about Gastornis. Gastornis means Gaston's bird. It was a member of the Gastornidae family. It was most likely an herbivore, and it lived during the late Paleocene to the early Eocene, and its remains have been found in Europe, Asia, and North America. Gastornis had several species with different sizes, with the biggest ones reaching heights of 7 feet tall. Gastornis is the perfect example of an animal whose image has completely changed over the years. For the longest time, Gastornis was thought to have been the dominant predator that all other animals feared. In fact, if you've ever been to a natural history museum or read a book about life from the Tertiary, you might remember seeing images of Gastornis eating the proto-horse Eohippus. So what's the problem here, you may ask? Well, you see, the image of Gastornis as a predator is one that has always been a pretty controversial one among scientists. You see, Gastornis didn't really have a predatory build. Its legs weren't really meant for running, and its beak wasn't pointed at all, like literally every single other predatory bird. This came to a head a few years back when most paleontologists came to the conclusion that Gastornis was most likely an herbivore that ate things like nuts and fruit. One last thing to note about Gastornis is the fact that at least 2 other genuses have turned out to be species of Gastornis, and these are the birds Diatryma and Barornis. Both of them were at one point thought to be distinct animals until comparisons of bone structure revealed that they were just species of Gastornis, and since Gastornis was named first, they had to change their name to that. Alright, let's look at the card. It'll definitely be better than the last card. It better be. Well, right off the bat, they're calling it Diatryma, which is a name that got discredited back in the 80s. Why the fudge are they calling it Diatryma? These cards came out in the 2000s. What the fudge were they thinking? They are literally recounting information that has been obsolete for nearly 20 years at this point. Why? What happened here? Problem number 2 with this card is that they gave it a pointy bill, even though, as I said earlier, the fact that it didn't have one is one of the biggest points of evidence towards the fact that it was an herbivore and not a carnivore. Problem number 3 is that it portrays it as the dominant predator of its region. However, this is actually a pretty outdated belief. Even if Gastornis was a carnivore, there were also land-based crocodiles and predatory mammals that probably would have given it a lot of competition, so saying it would have been the dominant predator is inaccurate. And the last error that should probably go without saying is the fact that this card mostly treats it as if it is carnivorous, even though, as I said earlier, the majority view nowadays is that it's herbivorous. So, I give this card a 6 out of 10. Now let's look at Gastornis in pop culture. Gastornis appears as an adoptable animal in the mobile game Jurassic Park Builder, and Jurassic World the game. In both of these, they're portrayed as carnivorous, even though, in both cases, they came out after Gastornis was determined to most likely be herbivorous. Gastornis appeared in the first episode of Walking with Beasts, where it's portrayed as like a super predator, hunting down everything in its region, and then its egg gets eaten by ants, and it walks off. And finally, Gastornis have made appearances in the Ice Age franchise, where interestingly enough, despite these movies being made at a time when Gastornis was thought to be a carnivore, the movie doesn't seem to portray them that way. None of the other animals ever seem to be afraid of them. So, was Ice Age progressive in a way when it comes to Gastornis? Who knows? Maybe it's just a coincidence and they just wanted to use Gastornis in a way. Before we end this video, I just want to point out the fact that there are no terror bird cards. Like, why would you have Gastornis as a card, but no terror birds? In fact, at the end of the series, I'm going to catalog every single animal that probably should have gotten a card, but didn't for whatever reason. So, that's something to look forward to when I end this. So, yeah. That's all for this episode of Monsters of the Past. Join me next time when I talk about some of the strangest dinosaurs to have ever lived. Bye!